Do you know what happens if you do not respect the people? You get this story right here from The Independent. Lady Gaga, dog napping. FBI investigating political motives. Singer's dog walker was shot and her 2 French bulldogs were stolen. They're essentially saying, check this out, the FBI is reportedly investigating if there were political motives behind the dog napping of Lady Gaga's bulldogs after she sang at President Joe Biden's inauguration last month. The pop superstar is offering $500,000 for the return of her French bulldogs, Koji and Gustav, who were stolen at gunpoint. Not at gunpoint, at gunshot. Mm-hmm. But Luke, you see, a lot of people might say, what political motives? You mentioned something earlier about this.
Yeah, I remember seeing some kind of form of entertainment where this was a plot line of going against the bourgeoisie and stealing the rich people's dogs as form of like a cultural warfare. I don't remember exactly what. I couldn't pinpoint it when we were talking before the show. That's why I didn't bring it up now. But you know, I think there might be a bigger political motive potentially here. I think it also might be motivated by crime that has been spiking in many big cities that is going to go dramatically up as, of course, our economic woes continue.
Well, they're saying the FBI thinks there may be a political motive, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder, in Los Angeles, is that MAGA country?
Oh, no.
I do not believe it is.
Huh.
So could it be some fringe leftists saying "eat the rich"? I think these people knew who the dogs belonged to.
I mean, you got to assume that they did, right? Like the other thing too is they didn't just take the dogs; they shot the guy who had the dogs, and then they took the dogs. So you got to assume. I mean, my hunch is it's either for ransom or think about where she was.
I'm saying this. My initial assumption is this is crazy for the FBI to insinuate political motives. That's nuts. Okay, it was probably some guys who were like, "Yo, it's Lady Gaga's dogs. Shoot that guy. Take his dogs." But if the FBI has reason to believe it was politically motivated, I don't see it as being right wing. First of all,
definitely not.
Right-wingers going around shooting people and stealing dogs does not make sense to me.
No, it would have to be like, if there's anyone who's going to do that, and I think it fits. The reason we all jumped onto it earlier is it fits the class war narrative, I think, in the Democratic Party of, if it's anything, it's probably something from like, I don't know, a communist revolution that happened in China or in Russia where that's what they did to the wealthy. And that, like, as a form of punishment, they took the items that they had that conveyed some sort of class status, right? It's no different than stealing someone's Range Rover today. And so it's like, that to me, if there is any political intonation, it has to be that.
Yeah, I'd be curious at who in the FBI is saying that they were kind of investigating this. I'd be really curious what they were thinking the motivation was, because you're right, there's no chance that this is MAGA country because this is LA. That ain't MAGA country. It's even less so than it was in Chicago when Jussie Smollett was dealing with it. Oh, poor man. But these dogs are very expensive, and I feel like everybody knows that. And I think that this is probably just crime, honestly. And I guess this has been kind of increasing. So I don't know.
I mean, they're like $2,000. I mean, to kill
Are they
someone to try to.
Is that really all that they're
on
worth?
average?
Yeah,
on average.
I guess
so I don't know. There's special
ransom.
breeds.
They're holding them for ransom, right?
But even, I mean, in this special technological surveillance Big Brother state, I don't think people would do ransom because they would get caught right away. With so much metadata. I mean, Facebook knows everything about you.
This is why the political thing I'm questioning.
Yeah.
Look. Like, I would not entertain this normally, but the FBI is investigating a political motive over this. And they're saying it's because she sang at Biden's inauguration. But that's kind of like the far left was planning on protesting Hillary Clinton's inauguration as well back in 2016. And then it turned into a Trump protest. They don't like Joe Biden. And like Luke said, what ransom are you going to be able to get from stealing Lady Gaga's dogs? Okay, maybe they didn't know it was Lady Gaga's dogs. Maybe they saw a guy with dogs and said, yo, but I don't believe that because these dogs are extremely valuable.
Yeah.
They likely knew where the dogs came from. They likely knew what kind of dogs they were. They had to have known it was Lady Gaga's. And if that's the case, ransom would never have worked. So were they hoping to then get the reward later from Lady Gaga or sell them because they're worth a couple grand? I don't know. But the FBI says political motive, and I don't look to a bunch of MAGA guys, maybe with
definitely not,
with some bleach and some
rope,
tracking down this guy.
Yeah, and there's more expensive things to steal, right? Like, if you were in downtown LA, you got to assume there's probably cars, watches, right? Like things that you don't have to hold for ransom, you can just resell. It's fast. I
also do think it's like absurd to think that some like Antifa people were like, eat the rich, and then they shot this guy and stole the dogs.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Is the FBI just reaching here?
Imagine being the FBI person. Imagine like you're an agent and this comes across your case and you're like, I'm sorry, Lady Gaga's dogs? This is what I have to do today?
Yeah.
No. There's an FBI agent and he's sitting in his desk and he's like super ripped and his like his suit's about to rip, because his muscles are so big. And then they come and they're like, Agent Johnson, it's Lady Gaga. And he goes, don't tell me her dogs. And he's like, I'm on it. And then it plays the theme song, The Dog Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, the dog bounty hunter. I love it.
Or it
And then
could
he
be
goes-
just two dumbasses that just randomly decided to be
Also
violent
possible.
because there's a bunch of violent dumbasses, mainly in big cities. And then the FBA is like, I can't fix this. I can't solve this. Let's just blame politics like we do everything
Yeah,
else.
exactly,
Because they
exactly.
always do that.
It's like, well, might as well be, right?
Yeah.
Then they announced that they found a length of rope tied off in,
Yeah.
in the back of Lady
Bottle of
Gaga's
bleach,
car, and
yeah.
they're like, oh, yeah.
And it's interesting. A Subway bag, I think, was also
Yeah, yeah.
recently
Yeah.
discovered
Yeah.
nearby.
Wow, that's going to be the meme forever for all these hoaxes, having
I
a
hope
Subway
so.
sandwich.
I mean, it's like it has to be. It also just like okay. I'm reminded of what happened often because it is just so fundamentally ridiculous, and people ran with it. Remember, I think she deleted the tweet, but Kamala Harris tweeted. She's like, I've never known someone as honest and as brave as Jussie Smollett.
These people are. They just.
Cringe.
It's like I imagine Kamala Harris is sitting there, and you're like, Miss Harris, what's your first name? And she goes, Harry. I can't tell the truth. I have to lie compulsively. You're like, tell me just something simple fact, and she tries really hard. John.
Yeah.
Because it has to be a lie out of her mouth.
I wonder
Every
if,
single one of these people.
if because Gaga performed at Biden's thing that Joe and Kamala know her and they think that the FBI will get more funding if they say that it might be politically motivated.
Ian just solved it.
Interesting.
The two people who stole the dogs was Joe and Kamala.
That's what I'm getting at.
I knew it.
And it
Yeah,
was
totally
Joe
what
with the
I'm
gun.
going
He's
for,
like,
yeah.
Come on, man, give me the dog.
Will they get more internal funding if it's a political crime?
No, I don't think
know.
so.
I think of
Hate
the Kamala Harris meme where she's like looking on the phone and looking down, and everyone's saying she's on the phone with Joe and what she's saying to him, and I think of her going like, Joe, they found the dogs, Joe. It's they know that it's us. The gig is up.
No, but you do bring up a good point
Solved
in that they just attach white supremacy to everything.
Yep.
You know, so if there's like a problem, so like, you know, a dog got kidnapped and the FBI can't figure it out, white supremacy?
Like
and then the left
13
goes, that explains it. And they go, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
13
exactly.
FBI agents for that fake news.
Fake news.
Yeah.
Fake news.
That's
Throw the FBI
right.
on it.
That's
Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get to the point where, like, you know, someone's car breaks down, and then like he brings it to the shop, and the guy looks at it and goes, "White supremacy,"
Yes.
and then the guy goes, "Oh,
Snap.
can you fix it?" Well, I'll do my best. Let me see if I can get the ADL on the phone. Bring him out here. It'll just be an excuse for like anything that goes wrong, right? So like the power will go out, and then people will be like, "We want to know where the power is out," and the mayor will be like, "Ladies and gentlemen,
Hate crime.
white supremacy."
Just snow.
That's it. And they'll be like, what? And they'll be like, that's what happened. And they'll go, help us, please.
Yeah.
Help us, oh heavens. That's big cities, to be honest. 'Cause
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I'm pretty sure this is what they're doing in, was it LA or another city? There's been a spike, a purported spike. I don't know if the numbers are actually pretty solid, but there's been a purported strike in anti-Asian American violence.
Yeah.
And there's
And I
two-
saw someone blame, they were like, well, naturally, it's white supremacy.
Well, no,
It's like,
they protested for this.
Yes,
in
right.
New York City, they did a march against white nationalism. And the suspect who attacked this Asian guy was black.
Not white.
yeah.
And then in San Francisco, they did the same thing.
Yep.
It was a suspect was black, and they were like, but it's white supremacy.
Right.
Somehow.
That's what's driving this.
Dude,
in New
it is-
York with the attacks on the Hasidic Jews all the time. It's the same thing. It's like this is white supremacy run rampant again.
Wow, these people are insane. That's one of the reasons I don't want to be in these cities anymore. But look, I'm not. We mentioned it periodically throughout the show, but like this is just falling apart. When you have very clearly a black man attack an Asian man, my response is I don't care about the race.
Yeah.
It was a guy who committed a crime. But then when all of these people are like white supremacy was the problem, and they go march, I'm like, yo, it's listen, it's class, it's poverty, it's education. Like we need to help these areas not scream up. Like I'll tell you this, I'll simplify this. Okay, I'll just slow down. If we see crime, regardless of race, and we say if we can alleviate poverty by targeting class issues and economic factors and education, then we can help solve that problem of violence. Instead of doing any of that, they go. It's like you know that meme where they're all at the meeting and it's like the two people give a really bad one and the third guy gives a sane and they throw him out the window.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a guy and he's pounding the table. We need to do something about all this violence, and then someone says, like we can blame white nationalism. And the person says, we can blame Trump supporters, and the third guy goes, we can just help deal with the poverty that leads to violence. Throw them out the window.
Yeah.
Throw 'em out the window. It's easier for everyone to be like, how about we just march against white nationalism and
Bingo.
solve no problems?
Blame.
Bingo, because it's like the problem is the alternative is you have to slog through the hard stuff, right? You have to work through the education and like the psychology of criminality and all the other difficult things.
Families,
yeah,
and fatherless
exactly.
homes.
Culture.
And all of these other systemic problems that there's not a silver bullet for, and there's not a convenient bad guy for.
That sounds like hard work.
Exactly.
And you got to target compound interest, which undercuts the elite class of fiscal giants. They're making what's $100 billion make you a year in just basic 2.3% interest.
Yeah.
Just putting it in the right investments. Meanwhile, I love that. I can't remember which comedian said this, but he was like, when you're poor, they charge you money.
Right.
Like you go to the bank and you're negative, so they're like, I got to charge you $35. Now you're negative $50. Meanwhile, when you're rich, they're like, sir, you're wealthy. Let me give you some more money.
Right.
For being
That's the way the
wealthy.
system works. Is it like? I understand the idea of interest. The bank uses your money for loans or whatever to a certain degree. It's fractional reserve. It's a weird system, but like punishing the poor,
Right.
that's just ridiculous. It was always weird to me when I would get like an overdraft fee. I at one point where when I was like 18 or 19, lost a bank account because it went negative and I couldn't stop the negative continuing to go negative. And I just told them, I was like, you realize like I don't have money, right? That's why it's negative. And they're like, well, sir, you know, there is a fee. What happened was it was like if you have less than a certain amount, you get a fee, and that fee put me negative, and then I got like a negative.
Bought a stick of
Right.
pack of gum or something. They charge you $35 for it.
I had like $4 in the account, but it was a $5 checking fee because I had under a certain amount. So then it went negative. Then they charged me the fee for being negative, and I showed up and said, I don't got $35 to fix this.
Duh.
I was like, I didn't know you were going to charge me right then, and I'm poor. And their response was, well, if you don't pay by next week, you can incur another fee. And I was like, then close the account. Congratulations. And now what are you going to do? You're going to try and get $35 from me I don't have?
I'd have like negative $2, and then I'd buy like, you get a pack of gum, and then you go get a sandwich, and then you go buy like a 99-cent something, and they charge you $90, $35,
Yeah, exactly.
$35,
Three separate fees.
And you call them, and you're like, hey, I didn't know I was in the negative. I'm going to deposit some money. And they're like, I can get rid of half of your charges. You're like, dude, you can get rid of all of them.
You literally
But if you
can.
act like a jerk, they won't help you at all.
Check this out. There was this crazy thing that happened in Chicago like 15 years ago with Chase Bank where there was an error in the ATMs and it wasn't subtracting money from people's accounts when they were withdrawing from ATMs. So cool. And so it led so here's what happened though. So I go to the ATM and it was like me and my friends were all going to a show, like a bar venue. And I put in my card, I had a couple $100 and I was like, I'll take out $20. I see the amount, I take out $20, I look at the receipt, and it says the number didn't change. I'm like, that's got to be wrong. So I'll take another $20. I take another $20, the number didn't change. And I was like, what is this? So I put my card back in, and then I was like, I'm going to take out $100. $100 comes out, and I got $140. I look at the receipt, it didn't change. And I went, this is messed up. So I deposited all the money back in except the 20.
Oh, you're such a good person.
No, because I'm like, dude.
There's a mistake.
They're gonna get you. They're gonna get you.
And I'm not playing games. It was an error, and I thought it was going to give me the correct readout, but it wasn't. So I just put the money back in. Here's what happened. Tons of people started being like, oh, free money.
Yeah.
And then what happened the next day? The system updated, and everybody was negative like $100, $200.
That was
And then
so
all the
good.
fees and everything
Yup.
else.
Yeah.
And the bank was like, too bad. I'm like, did they do that on purpose? Because they just like, imagine you do that. All the poor people think now's my chance to get some free money because the system is broken. No, it's not. It'll fix itself.
Amazing.
They'll correct it.
Just because they don't know, because the amount in your account is wrong doesn't mean they don't know how many times you took money out.
Right.
So it updated and then said withdrawal 2020, 2020, and then people were just like, I just lost
Got
all that
smoked.
money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, you said you went with your friends to a bar venue. I got really nostalgic.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I want to go
Seriously.
hang out at a bar,
Yeah.
man.
We'll tell.
Right.
I mean, we have one nearby. You can go hang out at.
Yeah, but not with a mask.
Yeah.
I don't want to do
You-
that
it's
stuff.
outside.
I just want to go
Outdoor.
chill with like 50 people in a bar.
Yeah.
Get a IPA.
Sit
look
outside.
around at people. Relax.
So I did that last weekend.
Cool. Where?
This is I think this is the first time I've said this out loud, at least out of
Florida?
like my
secret.
apartment with my
confessing.
girlfriend. Yeah. So here's my public confession. I went to Nashville last weekend.
Wow.
I visited my brother who's down there, and he was like, he's thinking about moving down there, and so I went down and I was like, listen, I haven't seen the guy in a long time. We're super, super close. And I was like, I want to see him before he leaves. And, you know, neither of us are getting any younger, whatever. And so I went down there, and I remember we went the first night, him and some of his buddies. And I remember just sitting in a bar, listening to a bar band, surrounded by people, and no one was wearing masks. And I was like, this feels so wonderful.
You cherish it.
I have people, like, for the first time in a year, I had people physically close to me, and I was like,
Yeah.
great, like,
Yes,
step
bring
on
it
my
in,
shoe,
man.
bump into me, like,
Sit
give
on
me a
my
hug,
knee.
man.
High
This
five.
is
Yeah.
fine.
This-
I don't mind this at
Right?
This is one of the reasons why
was-
I was up in New Hampshire during the summer and spring, because
Yeah.
it was normal life up there. You know,
Yeah.
large parties, large gatherings, and you know, one of the lowest sick rates in the nation.
And I was going to say, and no one told the coronavirus in New Hampshire because for whatever reason, their rates lagged way behind everyone else in the country.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.